Alright, how you guys doing? So, you probably know that I'm not too keen on stealth, but I find it really fun to use different weapons. As you've seen in any of my videos, you know that I really like changing up weapons. In a sense, sometimes I'll go out with two bows, I'll go out with double launchers, double shotguns, go out with a sniper rifle and a rocket launcher on day 2 of Hawks and Breakout. Whatever the case may be. So you know I like to mix everything up because it keeps the game entertaining for me, and it gets me familiar with all the weapons kind of all at once. So I'm not super familiar, or I stick to a certain weapon all the time. So it helps me out a lot, and I think it's a little interesting for you guys to see, because maybe you've seen some weapons in certain videos of mine that you don't normally see used. But today, we're not going to look at loud and how fucked up some of my weapon combinations can be, because I used to make videos like a year or two ago about just random weapon combinations, and I was like, oh, I can do that for a video. No, it's stupid, and it's a waste of video space and time to actually render and upload, when I can actually do better things kind of like this. So, back on topic. Usually, for stealth, there's a set amount of weapons that are fairly common and tend to be the best for stealth. Usually, from what I've seen, is the Car 4, the AS-Val, and the Cavity 9mm are ones that I tend to see, as well as the KSG, all in the primary section. And then for secondaries, I've seen a lot of Gruber Cruise, the Locomotive, not anymore really, and the Judge. Mainly the Gruber Cruise and Judge. Those are the two main that I see. And maybe Brunetti 9s. But I decided last night actually, what type of weapons could you actually use for stealth and actually get away with it? What I mean by get away is mainly having 3 to 4 detection risk. Now, for the sake of this video, I mainly stuck around 3 detection, because that's just how I did it. But in general, 4, 5, 6, even 7, I find perfectly acceptable in that range. So, today's video, I'm just going to show you some weapons that you probably didn't know can actually be somewhat viable for stealth if you, for some reason, wanted to try them out. And keep in mind, if you want to get these exactly how they are in this video, you will need a mod called EAC, or Extra Attachments Compilation. What it does is it lets you use a lot of different attachments that you can't normally use for that weapon. So I will put a link down in the description if you guys want to mimic these exactly, or if you don't want to download the mod because you don't have enough space or your computer can't run that well, and just adding scripts on top of it is just going to hinder it even more, then that's perfectly fine. Mod it however you can. And some of the weapons that have a lot less concealment and they'll stay around, we'll just say like 10, 14 or so, I would recommend, if you really want to use that for stealth, is putting a +3 concealment booster on it, or if you have 2 or 1, do whatever you can to get it down as low as possible. But some of these, if you want 3 detection, you will need to put a plus whatever concealment on there, but you don't have to if you don't care about having just 3 or 4 detection. So, without further ado, I'm going to show you some of them, and it's actually a pretty big list. And these are normally ones that you don't see a whole lot. Not all of them. Some of them, obviously, like the Car 4, we have the Cavity 9mm as well as the AS-Val right here. But there's a few, like all of them around here, as well as the Galil on the other page, as well as all of these right here. So, first one we have is the Amcar, or in whatever case that I have the real life names, the Colt Model Model 733. So it has 29 concealment, which I still find pretty funny. We have our traditional Colt M4A1, or the Car 4. We have our AUG, which I found out if you have a secondary, which I highly recommend using the Gruber Cruise in this sense, any secondary that you can get to 34 concealment, this does have a +3 concealment as well, you can probably see right here. But if you can get a secondary that has 34 concealment, you'll have a lot more, I guess, wiggle room when it comes to getting all these different weapons and such to actually work. And the threshold, if you want to stay at 3 detection, is 22 and up when it comes to the concealment of your primary. So 21, we'll just raise it to 4. You know, if you don't care, that's perfectly fine. And we're also going to do a little test of another weapon, which I think would be really interesting to try out. And that'll be the M14. I'll just use as an example. But it's the Springfield Armory M1A SOCOM 16, as its real life name it says. But we can use the AUG if you mod it properly with 22 concealment. At base, that's without the concealment bonus, because you don't need it, because you can actually have it, because that's the threshold right there. And then if you go to 21, you get 4. But you can use the G36C. You have this one, actually used to be one that I used to see a lot. I don't fully remember what it is. I want to say it's a commando, but I'm just going to go by its name of the Swiss Arms SG552. You can use the AK5 modded properly, 25 concealment. Funny enough, you could actually use the M16A4 or the AMR16. And modding properly, you have 25 concealment. Which, obviously, some of these do look really weird because the AMCAR as well as the AMR16, they both will have no stocks on them. But hey, it's pretty funny. You can use the FAMAS as well, 27 concealment. It's one of those higher ones. Obviously, the AS Val or Valkyria rifle. Did I say that right? Valkyria rifle. There you go. You got Cavity 9mm as well, obviously. And I've seen this one a little bit recently, the bootlegger or bootleg SMG, or the HK416C or 416C, which 33 concealment, it's not bad at all. That's even without a concealment bonus. So if you add that as well, this thing will be equally concealable to the ASVAL how I have it normally modded to test out some of the secondaries, which really wasn't many. But hey, it's pretty dope. The new AK5 you'll see right here, it just barely does not meet the threshold. And it's because of its relative newness as well as the lack of truly customizable mods that you can actually have on here. So it's nothing too bad at all, really. But if you had the option for no stock, you'd most likely be able to get above that 22 concealment threshold. But hey, it's still cool that you can use an AK5. AK5? No, AK-12. AK-5 right up here. But the AK-12 for stealth. And then, out of all things, I believe this is the AK-762, which is actually pretty dope. But 27 concealment, you can see it's still one of those weird ones. It's kind of like the Krinkov with that no stock. Then we have, I believe, is the Falcon rifle from Big Bank. There you are. And it's 24 concealment, not a big deal. Now, this is another one. If you really want to mess with this, the Enfield or the Queen's Wrath, if you really want to use it because of its severe lack of mods, I would actually, whoops. Why do I not have a short barrel on that? Never mind, it just meets the threshold. My apologies. And then the fucking... Actually, what is the name of this one? I don't even remember. G3A3, okay. I don't remember its actual in-game name. I apologize. But you have all that. And then you have the Galil, which is also a 23 concealment. And then here's a few other ones if you want to be a little weird. Now, with the concealment bonus, this will get above the threshold. You can see right now it's 19, and that's because of its severe lack of modding, capability. But if you get that +3 concealment boost, it'll just hit that 22 threshold. So if you want to bring a sniper to a fucking stealth, feel free to bring a WAT 2000, and it'll just work just right. And this one actually, you don't need EAC for that, because all you need to do actually, fairly simple, just get the suppressor barrel, no gadgets unless you want to have like a tactical laser or whatever. The grip, you want the subtiler grip, because the other ones actually give minus, which you kind of don't want, and that's really it. Really nothing too special. Now, obviously, this, the Dragunov, or I think it's the Grom sniper rifle, is a good dodge weapon of sorts because of the high concealment potential with getting the extra, like, foregrip and stock and all that stuff. So, it's a nice addition for stealth. Now, good thing that the silenced barrel itself does not come with any concealment downsides, so that's always fun. Foregrip, you'll obviously want the foregrips. You can get rid of the sight if you want. I would personally do it, but putting it on, taking it off, doesn't matter. There's really no hindrance, and you don't get any concealment gain, which is kind of sad, because I believe with the Mosin Nagant, you do get a concealment gain if you go iron sights, but that's, oh well. And then the stock, you obviously want that as well. And even without a boost, it doesn't matter. It well exceeds that 22 concealment threshold, just by 2, but it's still something. Now, on the road of shotguns, there's 3 in particular, because I tried all of them out. There's really none that actually work efficiently. We have our Spaz 12. Now, this is if you want a concealment, well, you would need a concealment bonus as well if you want 3 detection. But if you're perfectly fine with 7, you know, go wild. But it's pretty funny. I like it because of the giant soda can looking suppressor that's gold plated for me. We have the M1014, or in this case, the M4 Super 90, with 25 concealment with no boost, which is always a cool thing. And I believe that this one actually doesn't require anything. But the short barrel is actually really good for concealing it. 6 concealment just for that. And then with the fucking collapsed stock is another 6. So that's fucking great, actually. And if you want to concealment even more, feel free to do something else and add a boost or whatever. Now, my old KSG I used to use had, I believe it was 31 concealment, how I had it modded properly. So that includes, actually I don't think, do I have the set on here? No, I don't. My bad, it would actually be 33. Because I thought the sight actually looked a little weird. But having it modded this certain way, you'd get 33 concealment. At least that's what I had when it came to the boost. But in general, 30 concealment is perfectly fine. And I'd highly recommend if you don't want to bring a secondary shotgun of sorts. But I would always recommend at least bringing something that can propel an enemy, because that's going to come in handy a lot. But there's a thing, because this skin itself comes with a concealment modifier. I don't exactly know how much, but I know that it does. So I decided to make another one, kind of modded the same way. Actually, I forgot the site as well again, but modded virtually the same way. And well, not virtually, it is modded the exact same way, but just has 1 less. Now, the ammo is different because I'm weird and I decided to change up the ammo. But, funny enough, you can actually use an LMG in stealth. Obviously, it's not natural in the sense, but trying my absolute best to get the best outcome possible, trying to get it, I managed to get it to 14 concealment, which obviously isn't the greatest in the world, but I tried. Now, if you threw a boost on here, you'd get 17. That brings it down to 10, which is viable. I personally wouldn't do it, but if you want to be weird, you could bring a silenced LMG to a stealth. But obviously this is the most, I guess, concealable out of all of them, because all of them have 2, and then our RPK has 5, and I know for a fact that the RPK is a lot more customizable compared to all of these other LMGs. But with that being said, that was all the primaries that I found. Now, all of them to an extent could technically be, I guess, modded for stealth, but usually you don't find that all too often. I wonder why. And then for my test for secondaries. Now, what I used was that 36 concealmented, I guess, ASVAL. And I didn't really find a whole lot, because all pistols, except for ones that don't come with a suppressor, mainly our single action army cavalry and the Mataver, I believe the name was, these don't come with a suppressor. And technically the Smith & Wesson Model 29 doesn't, or the Castigo 44, and the Bronco, which I have something funny about the Bronco when we actually get to that. But virtually every single pistol has a suppressor, and virtually every single pistol can be modded for stealth. So do with that what you will. And same thing when it comes to all of the submachine guns. Some of them you don't see. Actually, all of them you don't see. I've seen an occasional MP5. Any others, actually? I think I've only seen an MP5 mainly. But all of these can be. And I didn't want to just throw all of them in. Except I believe this one actually doesn't. Let's actually buy it real quick. Does it? I believe I can put a suppressor on it. Yeah, I can. At least for me. I'm not 100% if that's normal all around. But I just thought that a few outliers would be really interesting to bring. Because all of these, I was like, oh, all of these have like base 20 concealment, which, you know, it's, you know, whatever. Actually, we can mess with that one as well. But the Thompson, or Tommy Gunner, whatever its initial name was. Yeah, Thompson M14 2-day-1. Whatever. Got it modded to 28 concealment. And this obviously doesn't include a booster. Then we have the Street Sweeper, or in its real name variant, the Sentinel Armsole Striker. Cool. Or the Striker, if you know it by Call of Duty standards. Got it to, funny enough, 19 concealment. Which, with how my ASVAL is modded with 36 concealment, 20 detection, or 20 concealment, is the cap. Because you can see here, 19 is, you know, at 4. And if we actually throw on a +1 concealment, boom, it's 3. So, this one is totally viable. Because usually a lot of +1 concealments are common, at least for me, when it comes to booster drops. As you can see, I have 6 at the moment, which, ooh, man, I'm packing. And then we had a potential one right here, which was one of the relatively new shotguns. Don't remember its full name, but it's a pretty interesting shotgun, I'll give it that. Sadly, there's not really much modifications you can do besides changing a barrel, the ammo, and the barrel extension, which, you know, it's a whatever. But if you do have a +3 concealment, it barely makes it. So if you want, you can use this as an actual stealthable weapon. Now, the Bronco, or in this case, the Raging Bull 44 Magnum. We could use it itself, because if you have this mod, you can put different barrel extensions, or I don't think you could do this in general in game, but you can add a suppressor to it. So if you want, you can bring a silenced Raging Bull 44 Magnum, or the Bronco, if you want to call it by that. And this is a really good and powerful dodge-based pistol. So it's only reasonable if you slap the suppressor on it, boom, you're good. And I might actually use this. I might actually want to use this every so often. I'm looking forward to it. But that is some of the weapons for stealth that I found out can be used. Now, one thing I actually want to do is I want to give this one a shot. I want to see what I can do with this one in particular. So, I could already see that we're going to make the threshold, which is always a nice sight to see. It takes vintage magazine as well. Stocks. Let's do a folding stock. Vertical grip, no. Okay, so 28 concealment. Actually, that actually works really well. But those are some of the weapons that are potentially able to be used for stealth. It's interesting, and I might actually give some of these a shot. So I'm looking forward to it. But anyways, if you guys actually have any curiosities about what I use usually right now, because I saw my buddy Vinny actually using it, the Yzma 12K modded out properly, obviously, as well as my Gruber Cruise, 3 concealment, and I have my shotgun. But if you want to do what I would normally do, or what I did before a lot in the past, I used my 36 concealment AS Val, or the Valkyrie rifle, and a silenced Judge. Those are what I mainly use for a majority of the time. I did swap the primary out before. I had a Car 4, but then I decided, you know what, since we got virtually a stealth only assault rifle, it'd be great to just throw it in stealth where it belongs. So that's what I did, and that's how I use it. And then saw my buddy Vinny trying out the Yzma stealth, and boom, that's it. But anyways, it's gonna wrap it up for this video. And if you have any suggestions, or if you want to let me know down in the comment section down below what your weapon combination that you like to use for stealth is, I'd be happy to hear it, and maybe I'll give it a shot. But anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Like and favorite if you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you have not already to not miss any of these videos in the future. If you want to get in touch with me, I got my Discord, my Steam group, as well as my personal Steam, all linked on my channel somewhere. Feel free to join any of them or add me on my Steam. I'd be perfectly happy with it. But anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Dan, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Have an awesome day, guys.